Are you preparing for your Ielts test and aiming to get a band of 7 or higher, but you always find yourself stuck in the 6 range? Or if you don't want to end up in that position, then this is the right video for you. Because I have been in that exact same situation before. When I took Ielts for the second time, and even after preparing for so many months, I only managed to score 6.5, which was a bit disappointing. In fact, in some sections, I even went lower compared to like when I took the test for the first time, which was so frustrating. However, after I fundamentally changed my approach and did few things differently, I managed to go to 7.5 just in 3 months. So in this video, I'm gonna share with you 6 key tips that help me break over that 6 curse and score a C1 level. So if that's what you're aiming for, then let's get started. So the first mistake that was actually a game changer for me was that when I initially took the Ielts test, I didn't have a strategy in place for the Ielts. So I was just randomly studying to improve my English level in general. But the truth is, and I learned that studying to improve your English level in general and studying for the Ielts test are slightly two different things. In fact, I would challenge you that even if you bring a native English speaker and put them on the spot taking the Ielts, I really doubt that they can actually score a band of 9 straight away, because I think it's very important to understand the test itself, the way it is structured, the way it is marked, and then have a strategy to actually target that. So in order to construct your strategy, I would recommend 3 different steps which I applied. First of all, try to understand the format of the test. We have 4 different sections. There is reading, listening, speaking, and writing. So try to understand the format of each section separately. So you need to understand how many parts there are in each section, what type of questions that could come up. Also, what are the most common topics that you might encounter in each section, and also how much time do you have to answer those questions. So essentially, when you understand the structure, it will be really beneficial for you to help you prepare in an efficient way. Now, the second step that I would recommend is looking at the criteria. Understand the criteria that you will be assessed for. And in order to do that, there are actually band descriptors for each section of the Ielts test that clearly set out the different criteria that the examiner will be looking for during the exam. And for me, that's actually where it all started. I went to the band descriptor and then I looked at the different criteria that the examiner is basically marking me for, and then it was all about reverse engineering it in a way that I'll be ticking those criteria. Also, when you look at the band descriptor, you will see that there are several different criteria listed there, clearly set out, so that can help you understand your weakness. Maybe you haven't been paying attention to one aspect that you find listed there, or maybe you could see that you have not been using idioms, or maybe you've been making too many mistakes, or maybe your pronunciation is not correct. So now, after having understood the format of the test and also the criteria that the examiner is watching for, the third step is that you build your strategy in place to target those criteria within the format of the Ielts test. That's your strategy to construct. I've shared several videos where I actually shared different strategies that you can use during the exam or also when preparing. So if you want to find out more details about that, go and check out my previous videos. Now, if we move to the second key point, the mistake that I was making was that I was not practicing each skill or each section of the Ielts test separately. So when I was preparing, for example, listening was probably my weakest because I was mainly relying on textbooks, learning from a textbook, or also like practicing on paper and then casually also trying to speak. And in the back of my head, the mistake that I made, I thought, okay, I did a lot of reading. I've seen so many of these words. I know what they mean. So if I hear it, it should be fine. It would be something similar. But I think that was a mistake. What I learned is that each skill is actually separate. Learning something and learning how to apply something are two different things. So when it comes to the reading, if I am reading, and then I do see some words there and I know what they mean. However, it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm actually going to be using those in my writing. And it's the same thing with listening and speaking. You might be able to fully understand a conversation. However, it doesn't necessarily mean that you will be able to use the exact same vocabulary. Although you do know what those words mean, you do know the structure, but when it comes to speaking, you might find yourself tongue-tied. And that's what I'm trying to highlight. So think about it as if you're learning how to ride a bike. Even if someone explains to you the technique, you see so many people doing it, you do understand what you need to do. However, when you go there, you're not gonna straight away from the get-go, from the very first time, be able to ride the bike. You still have to practice so many times and fall so many times, like make mistakes in order to perfect that skill. And that's what you need to understand. You have to practice each section separately, whether it comes to reading, listening, speaking, and writing. Now for the third tip, I would argue that you might be preparing in the wrong way or overcomplicating things, because I fell into that trap. When I started preparing, there was so much information out there, so many YouTube channels, so many books that help you prepare for IELTS, so many podcasts, and there is a lot of information out there, a lot of material. So you watch one YouTube video telling you to do things in a certain way, and then you watch another video that's telling you to do things in a complete opposite way, and then you read an article that tells you no, you should use a different technique, and basically you end up spreading yourself too thin, concentrating your energy on the wrong things, and it can also knock your confidence, because you feel like you learned something, someone else is telling you it's not useful, and overall that could be really detrimental to you. So what I did, I stick to only one or two reliable sources that help me prepare. Also, don't start overcomplicating things. I've seen videos that's telling you, okay, in this section you will have 15 different types of questions. If you get this type of question, you should use this strategy A, B, and C. If you get this type, you should, are you studying to pass your IELTS test, or are you studying to design an IELTS test? So that's actually one of the things that could be holding you back. Focus your energy on improving your English. Don't spread yourself too thin. I was also getting comments asking me, okay, which is more difficult? If I get 8 here, does it mean 7 there? I'm sorry, but that's not the right approach, or that's not the right mindset that you should have. You should focus your energy on studying for the test and improving your English. You don't have much time anyway, so try to use it in an efficient way. Stick to official training material. So that mostly includes Cambridge IELTS books, whether for the academic or the general. You can find so many tests there and basically practice. You could also find on some official websites for IELTS or the British Council or also IDP. So stick to these reliable sources. Don't start listening to everyone out there, because I have seen there is some terrible advice out there. Focus your energy on preparing in the best way possible. Focus on improving your level and you will be absolutely fine. Now for the fourth key tip, I would say focus on learning advanced language features. And that was actually one thing that I really focused on that enabled me to get that 7.5. So what do I mean by advanced language features? Well, that actually covers a variety of different aspects. But for example, if we are talking about the vocabulary vocabulary, instead of just like trying to learn new words in general, or like trying to learn as many words as you can, focus on learning words that could be considered C1 or C2. For example, instead of saying interesting, say fascinating. Instead of saying exclude, you could say rule out, which is also a phrasal verb and it's a C1 level. You can find my other videos where I actually listed so many other advanced vocabulary, so go and check them out. Also, following on that note, try to specifically use phrasal verbs, idioms. Those are considered advanced language features. So prepare a list of idioms or phrasal verbs that you can use. You can also find my other videos where I shared specific phrasal verbs and idioms that you can use during the IELTS. So go and check them out. In terms of tenses, don't just use present simple, future simple and past simple, but try to incorporate some of these advanced tenses like the present perfect continuous or the past perfect continuous, or if you feel more confident, learn other more advanced tenses and try to use them. In addition to that, in terms of advanced grammar, try to use the passive form, try to also use the conditional and also subordinate clauses or some clauses where you show contradiction and so on. So specifically focus during your preparation on actually learning all these language features and then learn how to apply them. So prepare strategically in a way that you do know what you're going to use or what language features that you're going to use before the exam. Then when you go to the exam, you can easily demonstrate to the examiner that you have an advanced level by using those advanced features. Now this brings us to the fifth point, which is lack of feedback. When I was preparing, and I know so many people also prefer to study at home by themselves, but bear in mind that when you do it that way, you will be kind of like stuck in your own bubble. And when we study by ourselves, we tend to be blind to our own mistakes. So if you have someone who can give you feedback, they can significantly accelerate that learning process. They can perhaps spot some systematic errors that you have not been paying attention to, or that you didn't even know about. Because when I got feedback, that was incredibly helpful for me. When I sent my essays actually to my teacher and then they provided feedback, they pointed out certain things that I had never ever thought about. So it was like an eye-opening for me that I was, okay, wow, I've always been making this type of mistake. And the same when I was practicing speaking in front of my friends, they were also pointing out to certain things, and then I started consciously thinking about like how I improved those aspects or the way that I was pronouncing certain words, and then obviously that helped me in the long term. So the key advice here is to seek feedback. Whether you are writing an essay or learning how to improve your writing, send that essay to some teacher that you know, a friend of yours who has a good level, or like some teacher online, so they can provide you some feedback and help you improve or give you some advice on how you can improve your writing. The same with speaking. It's good when you are practicing, you can record yourself and then listen to it and then see like what you could improve. But a better way to do it is to actually have some mock interview in front of someone, a teacher, a friend, or someone who can give you feedback, and try to do it on the spot, see what kind of feedback that you can get from them, and basically that will help you a lot. It's very important to actually seek feedback and also be open to feedback. If someone is giving you feedback and criticizing certain aspects, also be open to that and then work on improving your weaknesses or your vulnerabilities. So try to get as much feedback as you can, because it's very beneficial and useful for your own development overall. All right. Now for the final key advice, which is prepare under time pressure, under the real conditions of the test. So I said it before in a previous video, and I'm going to repeat it again in this video because it is crucial. Because if you are preparing in the comfort of your home at your own pace, and then you feel like you are learning, you're improving, and then you go to the test and you are shocked that you didn't score the band that you thought you're gonna get, it is probably because you're not used to that time pressure. It happens to so many people who actually study a lot and they prepare a lot, and then they think they are in a good place. Then they go to the test and somehow they forget everything, or they suddenly blank out and they have no idea what to say or like what to do. And I think that is mainly because they didn't include the time pressure element in their preparation. And that's actually one of the things that I did differently. So when I was preparing, I was actually practicing as if I were in the real test conditions. I set the time limit to the exact same time limit and I practiced under that time pressure. And then when you do it over and over again, it will make you confident. And this is actually a skill that's going to be helpful and beneficial for you, not just for the Ielts test, but for so many other tests that you might encounter in the future. So try to practice under those conditions, get used to it, time limit. So when you go to the exam, there will be no surprises. You will be confident and you can actually cope under that pressure without crumbling. And that is pretty much the last advice, and I'm pretty sure that if you do that, you will succeed in getting to that advanced C1 or C2 band that you're trying to achieve. Alright, so that was 6 key tips that helped me break over that annoying 6 curse of the Ielts test. I really hope that you take my advice on board and you incorporate it to get rid of that 6 curse. I wish you best of luck in achieving a high band that you're after. And if you manage to score a high band, I'll be really happy to hear about it. So please let me know. If you have more questions, leave them in the comments down below. I will also be making in the future more helpful videos, actually not restricted to Ielts. There will be more related videos about studying abroad in general. So if you don't want to miss out on that advice, don't forget to subscribe. Till I see you next time, keep on practicing and best of luck with your Ielts test.